Have you ever walked into a room, put in the effort, done the right things, and still felt like you were completely invisible? Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you try to accommodate people, they still cross your boundaries, talk over you, and fail to give you the basic respect you know you deserve? Listen to me very closely. We live in a world that operates on a massive misconception. Society conditions us to believe that respect is something you have to loudly demand. We are taught that respect comes from the car you drive, the title on your business card, the volume of your voice, or the amount of money sitting in your bank account. But what if I told you that the kind of respect that is bought with money or extracted through fear is entirely fake? It's an illusion. It is temporary. And the second you lose your leverage, you lose their respect. True respect, the kind of respect that shifts the energy of a room the second you walk in, the kind of respect that people give you behind your back, is not demanded. It is commanded. It is an aura. It is a byproduct of absolute inner mastery. Over 2,500 years ago, Buddhist philosophy laid out a profound blueprint for mastering the human mind. This isn't just about sitting under a tree and being peaceful. This is about building an unbreakable, elite mindset. This is about forging a character so solid, so grounded, and so fiercely authentic that disrespecting you becomes practically impossible. Today, we are going to decode 18 invaluable, ancient lessons that will completely rewire how you operate in this world. These are not just spiritual concepts. They are highly tactical, practical strategies for personal transformation and ultimate success. If you apply these 18 rules to your life, you will not just change how the world looks at you. You will change how you look at yourself. Settle in. Remove your distractions. Let these words sink deep into your subconscious. It is time to level up. Let's be. Lesson number 1. The mastery of mindfulness. If you want to command the respect of everyone around you, you must first master the art of being fully present. In our modern, hyper-connected world, attention is the rarest and most valuable currency. Most people are operating on autopilot. They are physically in the room, but their minds are miles away, dwelling on the regrets of yesterday or drowning in the anxiety of tomorrow. When you are constantly distracted, you react impulsively. You get defensive. You let your emotions drive your decisions. And let's be brutally honest, nobody respects a reactive person. Mindfulness is the ultimate anchor. It is the practice of being fiercely and completely present in the now, observing your thoughts, your feelings, and your environment without immediate judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you stop reacting and you start responding. You create a powerful gap between a trigger and your reaction. In that gap lies your absolute freedom and your ultimate power. Think about the most respected people you know. When you speak to them, they look you in the eye. They aren't checking their phones. They aren't planning their next sentence while you are still talking. They are anchored. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine through deep meditation, mindful breathing, or simply taking a walk without your headphones trains your brain to stay centered during chaos. When you possess the rare ability to remain entirely calm and laser-focused when everyone else is losing their minds, you instantly become the leader of the room. You command respect because you are in absolute control of yourself. Lesson number 2. The power of compassion. There is a toxic myth in modern culture that kindness is a weakness. We are sold this idea that to be an apex performer, to be a true winner in life, you must be cold, ruthless, and entirely self-serving. That is the mindset of an amateur. True, lasting power is deeply rooted in compassion. Buddhism teaches us that compassion is the absolute cornerstone of all successful human relationships. It is the ability to look at another human being, recognize their struggles, and have the strength to extend empathy. But here is the secret. Compassion is not about letting people walk all over you. It is not about being a doormat. True compassion requires immense emotional intelligence. It requires you to step outside of your own ego and put yourself in someone else's shoes. When you practice active listening, when you truly hear someone without trying to fix them or judge them, you validate their existence. People are naturally, almost magnetically, drawn to individuals who make them feel seen and understood. Think about it. Do you respect the boss who belittles you, or the leader who takes the time to understand your perspective? Start with self-compassion. Forgive yourself for your past failures. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you treat yourself with dignity, that standard radiates outward. When you show genuine care for others through small, unprompted acts of kindness, you build a fortress of goodwill. The world respects those who have the strength to be kind in a world that is often cruel. Lesson number 3, embrace impermanence. If you want to suffer deeply in this life, try to hold on to everything forever. The root of so much human misery is our desperate, exhausting attempt to freeze time. We want our relationships to never change. We want our youth to last forever. Buddhism teaches a hard, beautiful truth. Everything is in a constant, relentless state of flux. Nothing is static. The seasons change, markets crash, empires fall, and people leave. Impermanence is the absolute law of the universe. Why does understanding this command respect? Because the person who accepts impermanence is unflappable. When you understand that failure is temporary, you don't let it destroy your confidence. When you understand that massive success is also temporary, you don't let it inflate your ego. When a crisis hits, when you lose a job, when a deal falls through, when a relationship ends, the average person breaks down. They complain, they play the victim, and they demand to know, why me? But the person who understands impermanence simply takes a deep breath, accepts the new reality, and adapts. Resilience is highly respected. Flexibility is a superpower. When you let go of your rigid attachments to how things should be, you become water. You flow through obstacles instead of crashing into them. You exude a grounded, steady energy that tells the world, no matter what happens, I will handle it. And that makes you incredibly dangerous to anyone trying to bring you down. Lesson number 4, the mastery of non-attachment. This lesson is the direct continuation of impermanence, but it takes it to the next level. Non-attachment is the secret to moving through life completely unbothered. Most people are entirely attached to external validation. Their self-worth is a stock market that fluctuates based on how many likes they get, what their boss thinks of them, or the brand of the clothes they wear. They are slaves to the opinions of strangers. Non-attachment teaches us to sever the cord between our inner peace and external outcomes. It does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop working hard or setting massive goals. It means you detach from the outcome of that goal. You find your absolute satisfaction in the effort, in the grind, in the execution of the work itself. If you launch a business and it fails, you don't view yourself as a failure. You view the event as a failure. Take the data and build something better. If you minimize your attachment to material possessions and the desperate need for public approval, you experience a profound sense of lightness. When you no longer require the world to validate your existence, you become an incredibly powerful force. People respect those who do not need them. When you project an air of self-assured independence, when you prove that you are perfectly fine with or without their applause, you become undeniable. Lesson number 5, right speech. Your words are not just sounds. They are tools of creation and destruction. The way you communicate dictates exactly how the world will treat you. Buddhism places immense weight on right speech. This means your words must pass a rigorous filter before they ever leave your mouth. Are your words truthful? Are they helpful? Are they kind? We live in an era of constant noise. People talk just to hear themselves talk. They gossip, they slander, they complain, and they tear others down to make themselves feel slightly taller. A person of high value, a person who commands elite respect, refuses to play in the dirt. When people know that you never lie, your word becomes ironclad. When they know you refuse to engage in cheap office gossip, they trust you with their lives. And perhaps the most powerful aspect of right speech is knowing when to remain completely silent. Mindful silence is intimidating. It is powerful. When you sit in a meeting and only speak when you have something of immense value to add, the entire room will stop and listen to you. Thoughtful communication proves that you possess impulse control. It proves that you respect yourself enough to weigh your thoughts before you broadcast them. Master your tongue, and you will master your reputation. Lesson number 6, the absolute power of patience. We live in an era of instant gratification. If a web page takes more than 3 seconds to load, people lose their minds. If someone cuts them off in traffic, they absolutely explode. We have been conditioned to demand everything exactly when we want it. But here is the undeniable truth about high-value individuals. The person who can control their impulses controls the room. Patience is not the ability to just sit around and wait. Patience is the ultimate flex of self-control. It is how you behave, how you calculate, and how you maintain your composure while you are waiting. Buddhism teaches us that life is inherently filled with friction. Things will absolutely go wrong. Deals will fall through. People will betray your trust. Technology will fail you at the worst possible moment. When these things happen, the average person throws a tantrum. They panic, they shout, and in that exact moment, they hand over all of their power to the situation. They lose the respect of everyone watching. But not you. When you cultivate patience, you build an emotional fortress. When everyone else is running around with their hair on fire, you take a deep breath. You assess the variables. You remain stone cold and composed. This level of emotional regulation is so rare today that when people witness it, they are instantly intimidated and deeply respectful. True patience requires immense inner strength. It means you understand that the long game is the only game worth playing. You don't need the quick win. You are building an empire. When you can smile in the face of a setback, adapt to the chaos, and move forward without losing your temper, you command a level of respect that cannot be bought. Lesson number 7. The frequency of gratitude. Let me be brutally honest with you. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, respects a chronic complainer. The person who constantly whines about the economy, their boss, their lack of time, or their bad luck is toxic. They are an energy vampire. High-level people actively avoid them. If you want to completely shift how the world perceives you, you have to shift your baseline frequency. Buddhism teaches that gratitude is not just a polite thank you. It is a profound, transformative lens through which you view your entire existence. Gratitude is the antidote to the scarcity mindset. When you wake up and actively acknowledge what you have, your health, the roof over your head, your sharp mind, the absolute privilege of being alive to fight another day, you stop operating from a place of desperation. Desperation repels respect. Abundance attracts it. Start a mental audit. Every single morning, before you check your phone, before you let the stress of the world infect your brain, lock in on 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. Express that gratitude to the people who grind beside you. Look your team in the eye and tell them you appreciate their effort. When you operate from gratitude, you don't walk into a room looking for what you can take. You walk in radiating completeness. You are already full. People are naturally drawn to that grounded, positive energy. They respect the man or woman who can find the absolute beauty and opportunity in the present moment, rather than crying over what they don't have. Lesson number 8. The brutal mirror of self-reflection. Most people spend their entire lives pointing fingers. If they fail, it's the market's fault. If their relationship ends, their ex was crazy. If they don't get the promotion, the system is rigged. The ego is incredibly highly trained to protect itself from blame. But passing the blame is the hallmark of a weak mindset. If you want to command elite respect, you must practice extreme accountability. You must be willing to stand in front of the mirror, strip away all your excuses, and ask yourself the hard questions. This is the Buddhist practice of deep self-reflection. Why did I react that way? What is my actual motivation for taking this job? Am I acting out of integrity, or am I acting out of fear? Self-reflection is the process of putting your own ego on trial. It requires you to keep a journal of your thoughts, to track your behavioral patterns, and to actively seek out feedback. Imagine looking a colleague or a mentor in the eye and saying, "Tell me exactly where I am failing, and do not hold back." Most people would shatter under that kind of critique. But when you can take constructive criticism, completely detach your ego from it, and use it as fuel to level up, you become dangerous. People deeply respect an individual who can say, "I messed up. I own it. Here is how I am going to fix it." Humility and extreme ownership build an unbreakable foundation of trust. Stop running from your flaws. Audit them, dissect them, and conquer them. Lesson number 9. The silent power of humility. There is a very common saying, "The loudest guy in the room is the weakest guy in the room." Insecurity screams. Confidence is completely silent. Society tells you to boast, to flex your achievements on social media, to make sure everyone knows exactly how important you are. But true Buddhist humility flips that script entirely. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It is not about shrinking or hiding your talents. Humility is simply thinking about yourself less. You already know you are deadly. You know your worth. You know exactly what you bring to the table. Therefore, you do not need to desperately broadcast it to convince strangers. When you are truly humble, you are wildly approachable. You don't need to dominate every conversation. You practice active listening. You sit back, let others speak, and you actually value their input. You are the leader who gives all the credit to the team when you win and takes all the blame upon yourself when you lose. Think about the sheer power of that dynamic. When you acknowledge your limitations and recognize the brilliance in others, you don't look weak. You look like a master who has nothing left to prove. You become the gravitational center of the room. People respect the quiet professional. Be the wolf on the hill, not the dog barking at the bottom. Let your undeniable results make all the noise for you. Lesson number 10. Right livelihood, the purpose-driven grind. You cannot separate how you make your money from who you are as a person. The 10th lesson of Buddhism deals directly with your career, your business, and your daily grind. It is the concept of right livelihood. If you are spending 40, 60, or 80 hours a week engaging in work that forces you to lie, cheat, or compromise your core values, your soul is going to rot from the inside out. You can drive the most expensive car on the block, but if you acquired it by exploiting people, causing harm, or operating without integrity, your success is a complete facade. And trust me, people can sense that friction. You cannot hide a compromised character. Right livelihood is about total alignment. It means your actions, your income, and your core values are moving in the exact same direction. It means you choose the hard right over the easy wrong. When you conduct your business with absolute honesty and integrity, you build a reputation that precedes you into every room you walk into. Colleagues, clients, and competitors alike will respect you, not just for the money you make, but for the ruthless ethical standard you uphold. Balance is also key here. Right livelihood means prioritizing your physical well-being, your mental health, and your family alongside your ambitions. A man who destroys his health and his family to make $1 is not respected. He is pitied. Be the rare individual who builds massive success without selling their soul to get there. That is the ultimate flex. Lesson number 11, the tactical advantage of forgiveness. Let's get one thing straight right now. Society has completely misunderstood what forgiveness actually means. We are taught that forgiving someone is a sign of weakness. We think that if we forgive a person who betrayed us, insulted us, or crossed our boundaries, we are somehow letting them off the hook or validating their disrespect. That is the mindset of a victim. Buddhism teaches us that holding on to anger, harboring resentment, and plotting revenge is exactly like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you hold a grudge, you are actively allowing someone who disrespected you to live completely rent-free inside your head. You are giving them your time, your energy, and your focus, the 3 most valuable assets you possess. Do you think an apex performer, a true master of their reality, has the time or the energy to carry around a backpack full of toxic grudges? Absolutely not. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It has nothing to do with them. Forgiveness is a selfish, highly tactical act of cutting the chain that binds you to the past. It is the ultimate flex of emotional maturity. When someone wrongs you, you learn the lesson, you adjust your boundaries, and you drop the emotional dead weight. You move on, and more importantly, you must master self-forgiveness. You cannot operate at your highest frequency if you are constantly punishing yourself for the mistakes you made 5 years ago. The version of you that failed back then didn't have the wisdom that you have right now. Forgive that younger version of yourself. Release the guilt. Release the self-criticism. When you can look at your past without anger and look at your enemies with complete indifference, you become an unstoppable force. Lesson number 12, the weapon of contentment. We live in a hyper-consumer, hustle-obsessed culture that profits immensely from your dissatisfaction. Every advertisement, every social media feed, every billboard is designed to make you feel like you are not enough. They want you to believe that if you just buy the next watch, get the next promotion, or hit the next financial milestone, you will finally be happy. It is a trap. It is a never-ending treadmill, and if you stay on it, you will run until you drop dead, completely exhausted and entirely unfulfilled. Contentment is the ultimate rebellion. In Buddhism, contentment is not complacency. Let me repeat that. Contentment does not mean you lose your ambition. It does not mean you stop grinding or stop building your empire. Contentment simply means you find absolute peace in the present moment, exactly as it is, while you work toward the future. It means your happiness is not held hostage by a future outcome. When you learn to simplify your life, when you declutter your physical space, cut out the toxic relationships, and stop desperately chasing the next dopamine hit, you unlock a terrifying amount of focus. The man who is content with a simple life is the most dangerous man in the room, because he cannot be bought, he cannot be manipulated by shiny objects. When you are content, you operate from a place of wholeness, not a place of lack. You don't walk into a negotiation desperate for the deal. You don't walk into a relationship desperate for love. You are already full, and that aura of complete, self-sustained satisfaction commands deep, undeniable respect from everyone who crosses your path. Lesson number 13, the magnetic pull of generosity. Scarcity is a disease of the mind. Weak individuals operate under the illusion that the universe is up high. If someone else gets a slice, that means there is less for them. They hoard their knowledge. They hide their resources, and they keep score of every single favor they do, expecting an immediate return on investment. This transactional way of living makes you look petty and small. Buddhism shatters the scarcity mindset with a profound lesson of generosity. True power operates from a state of absolute abundance. When you give freely, whether it's giving your time to mentor someone younger, giving your resources to a cause that matters, or simply giving your undivided attention to a friend in need, you send a massive signal to your own subconscious and to the world. You are saying, I have more than enough. Generosity is the ultimate display of strength. A boss takes, a true leader gives, but listen closely. True generosity is done entirely in the shadows. It is done without the expectation of applause. If you give just so you can post about it on social media, or so you can hold it over someone's head later, that is not generosity. That is a manipulation tactic. When you make a habit of elevating the people around you, when you share your wins and build the table instead of just fighting for a seat at it, you create an army of fiercely loyal allies. The universe operates on the law of reciprocity. The more value you pour out into the world without keeping score, the more respect, wealth, and opportunity will flood back into your life. Be the provider. Be the rock. Be the one who gives. Lesson number 14. Equanimity, the eye of the hurricane. If there is one single trait that separates the elite from the average, it is equanimity. Equanimity is a fancy word for unshakable emotional symmetry. It is the ability to maintain a perfectly balanced mind, regardless of whether you are experiencing a massive victory or a catastrophic defeat. Imagine a hurricane. On the outer edges, the winds are tearing buildings apart, throwing cars through the air and creating absolute chaos. But right in the dead center, in the eye of the storm, there is perfect, undisturbed silence. The sun is shining, the air is still. You must become the eye of the hurricane. Life is going to throw unimaginable chaos at you. Markets will crash. People you trusted will turn their backs on you. Plans you spent years building will collapse overnight. The weak mind shatters under this pressure. The weak mind becomes a victim of the storm. But the individual who practices equanimity simply observes the chaos. They do not attach themselves to the extreme highs, which keeps their ego in check. And they do not attach themselves to the extreme lows, which keeps depression and anxiety away. When you get the massive promotion, you smile, nod, and get back to work. When you lose the massive deal, you smile, nod, analyze the failure, and get back to work. People look to their leaders to gauge how they should react to a crisis. If you are the thermostat setting the temperature of the room instead of just reacting to it like a thermometer, people will naturally fall in line behind you. When the world is burning down around you and you do not even flinch, you don't just earn respect, you become a legend in the eyes of your peers. Lesson number 15. Inner peace, the ultimate weapon. Let me tell you a brutal truth about the modern world. Society profits massively from your chaos. Entire industries are built on keeping you stressed, anxious, insecure, and constantly searching for the next quick fix. If you are at war with yourself, you are easy to control. You are easy to manipulate. But when you discover true inner peace, you become absolutely untouchable. Buddhism teaches us that inner peace is not a destination. It is not something you magically achieve after sitting on a mountain for 10 years. It is a daily, ruthless practice. It is the culmination of everything we have talked about so far: mindfulness, non-attachment, equanimity, and forgiveness. Inner peace means you have completely stopped fighting reality. You have stopped trying to control the uncontrollable. When you walk into a room carrying absolute inner stillness, it changes the atmospheric pressure. People who are vibrating with anxiety and stress will literally calm down just by standing next to you. How do you cultivate this? You must embrace silence. You must carve out time every single day to disconnect from the noise, sit in absolute solitude, and face your own mind. Most people are terrified of being alone with their thoughts because they have never disciplined them. When you make peace your baseline, disrespect bounces off of you. If someone insults you, they are trying to drag you into their internal hell. But when you have inner peace, you just look at them, recognize their suffering, and refuse to engage. That level of unbothered silence commands a terrifying amount of respect. Lesson number 16. The discipline of mindful consumption. You are exactly what you consume. And I am not just talking about the food you put on your plate, though that is incredibly important. I am talking about the information you allow into your brain. I am talking about the energy you allow into your environment. Buddhism warns us about the dangers of mindless consumption. Right now, you are living in an attention economy. Every app on your phone, every news channel, Every social media algorithm is designed by absolute geniuses to hijack your dopamine receptors and feed you garbage. They feed you outrage. They feed you comparison. They feed you fear. If you spend 3 hours a day doom scrolling through toxic news and watching other people live fake lives on the internet, your mind will become weak, anxious, and deeply insecure. Garbage in, garbage out. An elite performer ruthlessly guards the gates of their mind. You must practice mindful consumption. Audit everything. Is this podcast making me sharper, or is it making me angry? Is this relationship elevating my standards, or is it dragging me down into gossip and mediocrity? Is this food fueling my body for a massive day, or is it making me sluggish and weak? When people see that you do not participate in the mindless consumption of the masses, when they see that you are fiercely intentional about where you spend your time and your energy, they look at you differently. They realize you possess a standard that most people cannot comprehend. You respect yourself enough to only consume high-value fuel. The world will respect you for it. Lesson number 17. The unshakable power of true kindness. There is a massive difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is a manipulation tactic. People are nice because they are terrified of conflict. They are nice because they desperately want you to like them. Being nice comes from a position of absolute weakness. Kindness, on the other hand, comes from a position of supreme power. Buddhism places kindness at the absolute center of human interaction. When you are kind, you are not doing it to get something in return. You are doing it because your internal cup is completely overflowing. You are operating from a winning mentality. You are so secure in your own strength, so grounded in your own identity, that you can afford to reach down and pull someone else up. Think about the leaders, the mentors, and the giants in your life who have commanded your deepest respect. They were not the ones who belittled you to show their authority. They were the ones who held the door for the janitor. They were the ones who looked you in the eye and gave you genuine encouragement when you were at your lowest. True kindness is holding space for other people's humanity. It is offering a genuine compliment without expecting a favor. It is protecting those who cannot protect themselves. When you operate with ruthless ambition in your goals, but profound kindness in your interactions, you become a rare breed. You become a force of nature. Lesson number 18. The final and arguably the most important lesson of them all. Absolute self-compassion. Listen to me very carefully. You can master the other 17 lessons. You can build the business, master your speech, and show kindness to the world. But if you go home at the end of the night, look in the mirror, and speak to yourself like you are worthless, you have lost the game. You cannot demand respect from the world if you continuously disrespect yourself behind closed doors. Buddhism teaches that you must extend the exact same compassion to yourself that you would extend to a deeply loved friend. We are our own worst critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards of perfection, and when we inevitably fall short, we punish ourselves with brutal internal dialogue. I am a failure. I am not smart enough. I am too old. Stop. Stop tearing down the one person who has survived every single bad day you have ever had. Embrace your imperfections. You are a human being engaged in the incredibly difficult arena of life. When you make a mistake, own it, extract the data, forgive yourself instantly, and get back in the fight. Prioritize your recovery. Prioritize your mental health. When you genuinely love and respect the person staring back at you in the mirror, you build an invisible, impenetrable armor. No, one can use your insecurities against you because you have already accepted them. That is the ultimate freedom. That is the ultimate respect. You have just consumed the 18 master keys of Buddhist wisdom. But knowing the path and walking the path are two entirely different things. Information without execution is just entertainment. If you just click off this video and go back to your old habits, your old reactions, and your old excuses, nothing will change. You will continue to be overlooked. You will continue to be disrespected. But if you take these 18 lessons and forge them into your daily character, everything changes. You will stop reacting and you will start commanding. You will stop seeking validation and you will start generating your own power. You are stepping into an elite mindset, an apex mindset. This is where you build massive success. This is where you develop the winning mentality that separates the 1% from the rest of the world. If this video shifted something deep inside of you today, I want you to make a commitment right now. Hit that like button to signal to the algorithm that you are ready to level up. Go down to the comments and type the words